Can we kick it? You know we can. The 10-8 round podcast is back after what has to be. I don't want to overstate it here, but I think what has to be probably the most monumental week in 10-8 history that we have had yet. I, as always, your humble co-host from Filthy Philadelphia, Zach. I am joined, as always, by my better half, John Boy, in sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. John Boy, is hot in here. Philadelphia is in a bit of a heat wave. I am. If I look glistening during the pod, I may need you to clean this up post-production. We're sweating.
God damn.
Matter of fact,
there it is.
Ooh, I got to cool off a little bit here. That helps. That does help.
God damn, that looks refreshing.
That is just goddamn good. I mean, those guys at Killcliff know what the hell they're doing. They really do. What a week. What a week. First up, the 10-8's on Spotify. I feel like children were rejoicing in the streets. It felt like the sun was finally shining again, and it hasn't stopped. And for a house that does not have central AC like this mansion doesn't, we're cooking.
Hey, man.
We're cooking. Let me ask you this, John Boy. First and foremost, how you doing this week?
I'm doing good.
That's what I like to hear. What had you more excited this week? News that the 10-8 podcast had made it to Spotify, or the fact that the first ever joint lock of the week had been hit by the Leech? Which had you more excited?
Wow. Those are the two biggest takeaways as far as I'm concerned. Honestly, I might have to lean with the Leech becoming the honorary 10-8 round podcast fighter.
Yeah. Yeah. He's officially a 10-8 round guy.
You know what I mean?
That's a lock right there.
You know, we're in such an adolescent stage of the podcast, and there was so much on the line in that fight. To come through in that manner. Yeah. I mean, there's not much to be said.
Well, look, I don't want to show how the sausage gets made too much, but I have to assume you got on the horn with the Leech. I assume you kind of let him know what was at stake for the 10-8 round. And I assume, he kicked it into high gear because of that.
Yeah, of course. To the best of my abilities, I believe he understood me.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely my takeaway. Well, I'm sitting here wondering two things. One, how smart was it for me to wear a white t-shirt on the pod tonight? And only time will tell, because it really is a goddamn sauna in this room. It is ridiculously hot. Two, I mean, what's next for the 10-8 pod? I mean, sky is just looking like the limit, for two fight fans who just kind of decided to make it honest in this world.
Hey, man, if you guys tailed us last week, it was a good week. Let's keep it rolling. We got another fresh 11 a.m. start.
Not on.
I can't complain.
It wasn't bad, but I'll say this. 10 o'clock last Saturday, I was kind of sitting around like, what do I do with myself now? I was a little thrown. Not that it's a bad thing. Listen, change is necessary sometimes, but I was a little thrown off. I was like, what do I do with myself now?
That's fair. I get where you're coming from, but we'll touch on the three takeaways. We'll get into it.
You want to save it for the get to get.
Yeah, we'll get into the takeaways.
But that's fair enough. Look, at the end of the day, what do I always do when I have free time? Went back and watched old seasons of The Ultimate Fighter, because that's a sickness that I have. That's a mental defect that exists inside my head.
I need to burn through Nunez Pena Ultimate Fighter before 277 rolls around.
Yeah, I actually have not watched that season yet.
I didn't know Kamaru Usman's brother was also on the show.
Oh.
He's one of the heavyweights participating.
Wow.
So that adds a little bit of drama. But yeah, no, I definitely got to binge through that one before Dallas is approaching us in not this week, but the next.
Yeah, July 30th.
Yes, sir.
July 30th, and this is your weekly reminder, and we'll give one more next week. But if you want to come see these two studs in Atlantic City, you better come see these two studs in Atlantic City. That's all I motherfucking know. That's all I know.
Oof.
Yeah.
Hey, man, it's going to be the second time that we have met in person.
Yeah, second time ever.
Let that be known to the people watching. Me and Zach are going to make history. Second time meeting in person, and we're gonna have a good night. We're gonna have a good night. Looking forward to it.
Levels of excitement are unmatched. And we've only met in person twice, but we communicate so much that once a day, my iPhone suggests send a message to John Scher.
Yeah, no, I'm also getting that. My Twitter messages, my first pull up is you. It's real. The algorithms are real. They know. It's not a secret.
It's not a secret. We're not hiding anything here. What do you think? Should we get into our takeaways from the last fight card?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fucking stuff to take away from last week. It's hard to really narrow in on it, but I did my best. You want me to start it off?
Let me hear it.
I'm going to start it off with kind of what we went over. I think the UFC should start 11 a.m. start times from here on out until college football and the NFL season starts back up again, because obviously the time slots will change when that comes in. But dude, I'm loving the 11 a.m. start times. It was the highest grossing UFC fight night of all time, 2.2 million viewers. It's working for the UFC. It's working for me. I know there was a little bit of confusion late at night because you're not used to it, but I'm ready for the 11 a.m. change.
You know, I will say this. What was a little bit nice. Got up Saturday morning. We know I'm a loyal, faithful follower of brother Nathan Diaz, so I'm not skipping jujitsu. I'm not playing touch butt in the parking lot. I hit a little Saturday morning jujitsu. I came home. I'd only missed 2 prelim fights. Hit a quick shower, get fresh. Had an iced coffee.
Yeah.
A little scramble bowl with some spinach, some hash browns, some cheese.
I'm so glad that you brought that up. One thing before you finish.
Tell me.
When you're drinking that coffee first thing at 11 a.m. and you get that caffeine rush and the UFC is on, there's nothing like it, baby.
Yeah, that's fair. I got to tell you, I put the feet up, had a little icy boy, had a little breakfast, watched the UFC. Fight card was over, 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Went and actually visited a few fans of the 10-8 round podcast after that. Spent some time. I don't hate it. I am a creature that fears change, but okay. I didn't hate it, and that's fair. My first takeaway of the week. Miesha Cupcake Tate is done. She's done. She's done. She's done. And it pains me to say that. I hesitated to even write it down on the paper here. And it's not that she lost to Lauren Murphy. It's that in that loss, she didn't look great. And Murphy, by contrast, I don't want to say Murphy looked great, but Murphy looked like she came ready for that fight. She looked like she understood the Miesha Tate game plan. She looked like she'd studied some film. She looked like she adjusted her game plan based on that, you know. And as I saw on Twitter this week, it was in fact Murphin time. I laughed so hard when I saw that. Oh man, I can't get started. I can't because I won't get anything done. I laughed so hard when I saw that tweet, and I don't even remember who sent it, but god damn it, that was the funniest tweet I've ever seen. Just like Miesha Tate of old just seemed to be nowhere in the building, right? And it's not that I think Miesha was ever a particularly exciting fighter. You know, she's a wrestler by trade. Her game plan was always to wrestle fuck you. It was to survive the onslaught of punches, get you to the ground, and just muscle her way to a submission, as she did a la Holly Holm to win the belt. You know, she did not seem able or willing to execute that game plan. And Lauren Murphy kind of ragdolled her. I think we've seen the end of the cupcake era.
Yeah, that might be a fair assessment. Lauren Murphy looked like a girl coming off of a loss who was extremely motivated.
Yeah.
The thing that we kind of didn't know is if Miesha Tate was going to have that big of a strength advantage down at 125. And that was kind of the thing that we didn't, you know, that was what we were trying to establish, if she could assert her dominance at a lower weight class. And that was clearly not the case. Lauren Murphy looked like the stronger fighter.
By a lot.
She was holding her up against the cage. I don't really know where Misha expended her gas tank. She never really put her foot on the gas at any point in time. I think that's a good take. I really do. I think it's done for Cupcake.
Yeah, I think we've seen the end of the Cupcake, which is a
sad. It's probably the right call.
It probably is. Look, she's held UFC gold. Can't be mad at it.
No, she's had a legendary career. She'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I mean, she's she's in the pioneer wing of women's MMA without question. I think she's on that Mount Rushmore. And after being a pioneer of women's MMA in the way that she then also got redemption and won the belt from Holly Holm. She has since had, 2 children. It seemed like for the last 5 years, it seemed like that hashtag mom life was kind of working for Misha. I don't know. I guess she had the itch. She said, "Nah, I'm not done yet." She came in, got a win, and now she's coming off of two kind of lackluster losses. It wasn't like she went for broke and missed the mark. It seemed like she didn't look like somebody who really particularly wanted to be there.
And she took a lot of damage.
Yeah.
In both fights, like a lot of damage.
She's looked like Captain fucking Jack Sparrow at the Yankees game on Sunday with her eye all bandaged up. Yeah. We love the Cupcake here. She is a fucking legend, but I think this is one legend that has probably reached its conclusion.
Agreed.
What's next?
Go to number 2.
You hit me.
So I wrote down these takes after the fight, and over the course of 3 days, a whole hell of a lot has unfolded.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want to say it changes, but the one takeaway that I got was Josh Emmett is one of the biggest winners of that whole event, just because of how the main event unfolded. Ortega kind of had a sketchy win. There are people starting to validate it a little bit more, just saying that he put Yaya put Ortega in a compromising position that caused him to wrench his shoulder. However you want to take it, if you think it's a valid win or not. Does that open the door for Josh Emmett to fight for Volkanovski? Is he the biggest winner from UFC Long Island?
I have no reason to disagree with that assessment. I think Josh Emmett is the biggest takeaway, because even if, and look, having watched that replay in slow-mo, it did appear that Yair Rodriguez was holding the arm that T-City tried to pull back, causing T-City to dislocate his shoulder. Correct. Okay. Now what? Yeah. It wasn't like either man got to get in there and showcase his stuff. It wasn't like either man got to go, you can't call it a statement victory. No. I mean, he held on to somebody's shoulder, they pulled it back, they dislocated it. You get a legitimate win. It's a TKO victory, but it wasn't a statement piece. Whereas Josh Emmett just had a war with Calvin Kattar, a legitimate war. And we know Volkanovski is a man that likes his wars. I think MMA math has to take over here. And I think the MMA math says that Emmett Volkanovski is the fight to make.
Yeah. Unless Yaya and Emmett fight first, I'll accept that. I think that's probably the way it should be done. But I agree with you. If you had to pick one of the 2 guys to fight Volk, I would pick Emmett. But I would feel better if Emmett and Yaya fought it out, and the winner of that ultimately will fight Volk.
Am I crazy, or is it Yair?
Yair Rodriguez. You're right. Yair.
I feel like there's a long road between Yaya and Yair.
Yeah, that's okay.
Fair enough. Listen, on the 10-8, maybe he's Yaya. I don't know.
I mean, as soon as this guy gets a title fight, we'll get it right. But
that's fair enough.
Until then, it's Yayi. We'll have some fun with it, right?
Yo Rodriguez. Here we go. My second takeaway. I would like to reaffirm the need for open scoring in the sport of mixed martial arts, because Shane Burgos remained undefeated fighting in New York State this weekend, and I don't fucking think he should have.
No.
I think Charles Air Jourdain got robbed. And I think the way that he got robbed was even stranger than the robbery itself. For those listening who didn't watch the card, Shane Burgos got a win over Charles Jourdain this weekend by a majority decision, because one of the judges gave Shane Burgos a 10-8 round in round 2.
Yes.
Now, I had texted you during that fight and said, was that a 10-8 question mark? I don't think it was, but there's a legitimate argument to say that it was. But I can tell you, I don't think Charles Jourdain thought it was. And I think Charles Jourdain, probably rightfully so, thought, I got the first two 10-9. He got the second one 10-9. That's a 29-28 decision, Air Jourdain.
I personally think you could make a better argument that the third round was a 10-8 for Jourdain than the second round was a 10-8 for Burgos.
You might be able to make a better argument, but I don't think either of them was a 10-8.
I agree.
I think they were both 10-9s. I think they were statement 10-9s for both men, right? I mean,
I thought the first round was close.
Yes.
But I gave it 10-9 to Jourdain. The second round was very clear, and the third round was very clear.
Yeah.
It was the third biggest discrepancy in strikes landed for a losing fighter. Charles Jourdain landed 161 strikes. Burgos landed 67. You're talking almost 100 more strikes landed by Jourdain. I know that doesn't tell the full story, but that's a huge discrepancy for something like that to happen. I think everyone thinks Charles Jourdain won that fight, including Shane Burgos.
Yeah, I think so too. And look, funky decisions, they happen. We know that. We've discussed them. But to say that round 2 is a 10-8 and round 3 is not a 10-8 is, I think, the biggest driver to, we need open scoring. And look, had the first 30 seconds to 60 seconds of round 2 not happen, maybe it is a 10-8 Burgos. Maybe that's a fair assessment. But Jourdain was landing strikes at the beginning of round 2. He was an active game fighter, arguably getting the better of Burgos on the feet at the beginning of round 2, before Shane Burgos, the Hurricane, took him to the ground to do what he does, which is to try to wrestle fuck a submission out of him. And he did it masterfully. He did what we think he's supposed to do as a fighter, what he's good at doing as a fighter, but doesn't make a 10-8, at least not to my understanding of what a 10-8 does. But if it does make it a 10-8, I think Charles Jourdain should have been able to know that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm all for open scoring. We are both on the same page with that. I stand by, I really do think that the third round was a bigger beating than the second round for Jourdain. I don't have the strike count for the third round, but I know it was a 60+ strike count, and the entire duration of the third round was on the feet. That didn't go to the ground once. Jourdain, he got robbed. He took it like a champ, though. And I give him credit. I think both guys will learn from it and be back, but it just adds to our argument. We need open scoring.
Yeah, I agree. We could beat that dead horse all day, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's just another notch in the need for open scoring. What's your third?
Number 3, and I pretty much gave this away already. Li Jingliang is the official, unofficial fighter of the 10-8 round podcast. I don't know. We had a lot of conviction on him throughout, and we never really fluttered. We were never like, we were on the leash, and we really never looked back.
Yeah.
And you just love that. You love to see that with a plus 130 dog. You love to see that value, and you love to have that conviction, and you love to see the guy come through exactly how you thought he would.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, baby. Li Jingliang, that felt great. Let's keep it rolling, baby.
Yeah, and the leech not only came through for the 10-8 in our lock, which we love. He kind of battled back from a little bit of adversity. He was kind of getting pieced up a little bit in the first, getting a little bit of wrestle fucked in the first, and came out in the second and just shook off all that bad juju, all that bad mojo. He shook it off, and he said, "Nah, the 10-8 needs me. I'll be there. I'll answer that call," and he did.
Yeah, it's super impressive with him. He's never been knocked out before, and it's kind of his game plan where he takes a little bit of adversity through the first round, You did see, though, that there is a little bit of an issue with his grappling.
Yeah.
Muslim Salikov got him on his back, and he didn't really fight to get back up. He did land a takedown of himself in the second round, Li Jingliang. So he does have some offensive grappling, but his defensive grappling is a bit of a liability. He's not somebody I'm going to back against a wrestler, but I'll take him against just about anybody in the striking department at 175 pounds at dog money.
Got to.
You got to.
Got to. My third takeaway for the week.
Hear it.
Fighting ability skips a generation in families. And this is sort of a 2-week takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you saw one Herbert Burns get borderline cardio tapped by Billy Senior Perfecto Algio coming out of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, Algio MMA, but looked just bad. I mean, he came out and he threw out some absolutely world-class jiu-jitsu. And when Bill Algio survived the onslaught, pulled out of what was one of the deeper triangle chokes I think you'll see in MMA, when he survived it, Herbert Burns at that moment made it very clear he quit. He was done. He had one triangle attempt in him, and when that did not work out, he was 100% done. Just a short recap for the listeners. At the end of round 1, I did not think Herbert Burns was going to answer the stool. I did not think he was going to actually make it back to his stool. And I yelled at the television because they cut away to a commercial break between rounds. And I thought we were going to come back and they were going to be standing in the center of the cage. He did make it to the stool.
Yep.
Made it back out for the second round.
And the doctor talked to him too.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to him. I didn't like that.
I didn't either because it gave him time to recover.
Gave him an extra minute, but keep going. It's a great point.
It didn't matter because when he hit the ground for the second time in round 2, he flat out refused to get up. Just didn't get up. Great win for Bill Algio, right? That's a fantastic win. Why am I talking about all of this? He's the older, younger, he's the brother, he's the sibling of Gilbert Burns. El Dorino, one of the baddest men in the UFC, current fight of the year candidate against Khamzat Chimaev for what had to be one of the best fights I've ever seen. I mean, that's your brother. Your brother won't get up. He won't answer the call. I mean, Gilbert Burns was facing likely death against Khamzat Chimaev and barreled forward like a bull seeing red. His brother would not answer the call against Senior Perfecto on the prelims UFC Long Island. I couple that with Antonia Shevchenko, who won a split decision the week before and looked like she had never heard of Valentina Shevchenko in her life. Not like Valentina was her sister, like she just never heard of her. She didn't know that ability of fighting existed. So we've got two people here who I think maybe are confirming for me that fighting ability skips a generation in families.
Well, it's pretty amazing because this is really coming full circle now, because we started talking about, I don't know if this was on air or off air, but we discussed briefly the Ultimate Fighter, and Kamaru Usman's brother is currently participating in the Ultimate Fighter. He has a couple losses I saw in PFL, and I said, is that really Kamaru Usman's brother? So now we got 3 examples of this. This is interesting.
Let me ask you this, and I hate spoilies, but let me ask you this.
Let's hear it.
Does Kamaru Usman's brother confirm or challenge my suspicion?
He confirms it.
Okay.
1000% confirms it.
Fair enough.
He has 2 losses in PFL. What else is there to say?
Yeah, that's fair.
He's on the Ultimate Fighter.
Were they losses to Kayla Harrison?
Oh, no. They were.
That would be fair.
I mean, she might be the favorite in that fight.
Well, look, that's my takeaway. I obviously anybody listening is going to challenge me with the Diaz brothers, to which I say the Diaz brothers were not born. They were made somewhere in a lab. Sugar, spice, and everything Stockton created the Diaz brothers. So fuck yourself. Those are our takeaways for the week. Anything else to talk about on that card?
No, I think that was a solid
card.
Solid overview. It was a great card. I loved every second of it.
Yeah.
It just got me hyped to go into this week because it's a very similar scenario. It's the same start time, and as far as I'm concerned, I think it's just a stacked card. You can disagree. Feel free to disagree with me, but
I don't disagree with you. I don't want to. There is one thing we need to say about the last card.
Mm-hmm.
If you have the ability this week, if you have the time, you need to watch Matt Schnell versus Sumadarji. You need to watch that fight.
Yeah, thank God you brought that up.
Yeah, that's possibly on, and this is an interesting one, and I don't know if we want to do it tonight or if we want to save it for another day. But what are your top 5 jaw drop moments in MMA history, right? And I think Matt Schnell Sumadarji just made my top 5. Right up there with Conor McGregor starching Jose Aldo in 13 seconds, right up there with Jorge Masvidal landing a knee on Ben Askren's chin and sending him to the upside down. Sumadarji, Matt Schnell, round 2. Watch that fight. And maybe look, I don't want to put you on the spot too much. We'll do that one of these days. Maybe it'll be like a holiday edition of the 10-8 round. We'll do our top 5s, but that's in mind now. So, write that down.
Yeah, no, that's safe to say. I don't think anybody's going to argue. That second round is one of the best rounds I've ever seen in my life. Matt Schnell overcame some absolutely absurd adversity. He took some shots where he was standing still and, it looked like he was going to go out at any second. Apparently Sumadarji was fighting with a torn ACL. I heard. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I mean, both of these guys, absolute warriors.
Animals.
This is a scenario where Dana's got to get the checkbook out and make it right. Those boys laid it all on the line. That's what it's all about. I know that we discussed there are some people that were outraged about it. That was one of the most beautiful displays of art, as far as I'm concerned, that I've ever witnessed in my life. True display of just when shit gets rough, you kick in, and goddamn, Matt Schnell made a name for himself.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think if we were to sit here long enough and pick it apart, we'd probably have to have a conversation about refereeing and MMA and what intelligently defending yourself looks like.
Yeah, that's another really good point.
But that's not a conversation for tonight because Matt Schnell showed that true toughness and grit, it'll get you far in life. Brute force and ignorance will carry you far in this life, and it did on Saturday.
And just like there's a thin line between love and hate, there's a thin line between a fight when it should be stopped and when it shouldn't be stopped. Man, Matt Schnell's glad that wasn't stopped, I bet. But woof.
Yeah.
50% of referees would have stopped that fight.
Easily.
Yeah.
And who was it reffing that? Was it Chris Tione, Dan Mergliotta?
I want to say it was Keith Peterson.
Was it? No, it couldn't have been because there was nonsense. So it couldn't have been Keith Peterson. So that's rejected. Couldn't have been because that's a little bit of nonsense. And we all know that Keith Peterson is no nonsense.
I mean, true. That wouldn't make very much sense, but it wasn't. I don't believe it was. I don't recognize him.
I'll tell you what, I'll find out right now. We'll answer this question on air for everybody.
Yeah, either way, fight of the year. And once we get this referee's name, maybe bet the over.
Yeah. Maybe bet the over when this guy's reffing.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm going to tell you right now.
He might have had a little cash on the over 2.5 rounds.
Oh, it was Jacob Montalvo.
Okay.
Guy who's been around a while.
Yeah,
Jacob
super familiar. If we don't know his name as a referee, that's probably a good thing. Because usually any of the limelight that they get is bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good thing. I think he made the right call too.
I mean, Jesus, as I'm looking at this, how are we not going to talk about Ricky Simone versus Jake Shore?
Yeah, Jack Shore, 100%. Yeah, no, like you're right.
That was a statement victory for Ricky Simone.
Without a doubt.
I guess we can make it short and sweet. Ricky Simone defeated Jack Shore and didn't even make it look close. I kept waiting for Jack Shore's jiu-jitsu to kick in. but Ricky Simone brought that Pacific Northwest wrestling and meanness, and just he handled Jack Shore, handled him. That was a statement victory.
Yeah, no, the first round was relatively close. I thought that the size difference would eventually show into the later rounds, especially the second round. It looked like the momentum after the first round was kind of changing to Jack Shore. And then I don't know if you saw, Ricky Simone went into his corner and he asked, what do I do? Like, he was asking questions like he didn't know. I guess Shore made an adjustment and he kind of wanted a different game plan or something. But holy shit, he didn't show that in the second round. He came out fired up, landed a clean hook, put Shore on Bambi legs, and gave him his first L of his career. Shout out Ricky Simone. That's a fucking huge win for him.
And that is all she wrote. Yeah. All right. Should we get to talking about what's coming this Saturday at 11 a.m.?
Yeah, this is a fire card.
Well, I mean, listen, I like that. I like the headliner. I don't love the headliner because I think there were better fights to make, but I like the headliner. I think Curtis Blades versus Tom Aspinall is a fun one. How do you feel about this one?
It's going to answer a lot of questions.
Fair.
This is just going to be a big there's going to be a big question answered for Tom Aspinall, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying that he's the next heir to the throne, that this guy's the next big thing. Have we seen him grapple? Really? Right? I mean, he fought Sergey Spivak.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the only guy that really grappled him, and we didn't get to see it because it ended inside 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, he fought Jake Collier, who would have grappled him.
Knocked him out in 45 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, who do you think's the favorite? That's a better question.
I think Tom Aspinall's the favorite.
He is now, but Curtis Blades opened up as a decently big favorite.
Really?
And the public money is coming in droves on Tom Aspinall.
Oh, of course. Hometown crowd.
And it's going to continue to do so.
Yeah.
So I think if you like Curtis Blades here, I think you can wait all the way up until they fight. I think late money is going to come in on Tom Aspinall. I think the English are going to be drinking, and I think the English are going to be betting. And they might be right. They might be right. Tom Aspinall might make this look easy. Tom Aspinall might spark Curtis Blades. But if you're going to give me plus money with a wrestler over the course of 5 rounds against a guy that we've never seen grapple, I don't know, Zach.
Well, that's fair. And here's the thing, right? Curtis Blades, 16-3.
Mm-hmm.
He's lost to Derek Lewis.
And Francis twice.
Yep. So if Tom Aspinall sparks Curtis Blades, then you're absolutely right. He is that dude. He's about that life.
Yep.
Because those are Curtis Blades has only ever lost to 2 dudes, and they were legit dudes. I mean, Derek Lewis obviously is an enigma. Has a unique fighting style of none. But at the end of the day is also a man who's built out of cinder blocks, bricks, and any other hard material you can find in Houston.
Yeah. He throws with malicious intent.
Every punch is malicious intent.
Anything can happen with a guy like that.
Yeah. But Blades has beaten Dawkins, he's beaten Rosenstruck, he's beaten Volkov, he's beaten Junior Dos Santos. I mean, it's a tough guy.
Yeah, no, he's beat some good guys. He's fought the best of the best. It's one of those scenarios for me where if Aspinall doesn't get it done quickly, I think the odds are going to increase in Curtis Blades' favor each second that ticks away.
I mean, Tom Aspinall's never seen a decision before. He's got 9 knockouts and 3 submissions. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see if he's got to grapple with Blades, if he can throw a little jiu-jitsu in there. I don't know. But it's going to be a good fight.
I think if Curtis lands 1 takedown, there's going to be problems. And if you're going to give me plus money on a guy landing 1 takedown, I'm probably going to take it.
Especially at heavyweight.
With a guy who is without a doubt the best wrestler in the division.
Yeah.
Against a guy who's never fought really a wrestler.
Yeah. I mean, other than Jake Collier, who he starched in 45 seconds.
But just not being tested in that department. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
You can spark a guy in 45 seconds. It's just if he doesn't go out.
Right. What do you do then?
Exactly. How do you look after, Herbert Burns' choke doesn't go in? It's one of those things. It's a war of attrition type thing too. I've seen Aspinall kind of fade in the second round.
Yeah.
Saw him fade a little bit against Arlovsky, and then he locked in like a weird fucking submission. So I don't know. I'm leaning toward Blades here, but I could see Aspinall make it look easy. It's one of those fights.
Yeah.
Where
so
I think
are you going to lay off it, or are you taking Blades?
I'm going to take Blades. I'm gonna go on record on the pod taking Blades at plus money. Yeah, I'm gonna go for it.
Well, we got another one right on the heels of it. We got Jack the Joker Hermanson taking on Chris Curtis. It's another good fight.
This is another good one. Chris Curtis, fought 3 weeks ago?
Is that when he fought Rodolfo Vieira?
Yeah, it was.
Was it 3 weeks ago? Was it that recent?
3 or 4.
Let's see.
Look it up.
Let's see. I'm gonna look it up. If I have to pick a favorite, I'm leaning towards Chris Curtis as the favorite here.
You'd be correct.
Yeah, and that's interesting
because June 25th.
June 25th. Yeah,
Rodolfo Vieira.
Yeah, that's 3 weeks ago.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it'll be like 4 weeks by the time this fight happens. But yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. You're talking about a guy
to a decision too. It wasn't like he starched him in a few seconds.
Who, Rodolfo?
To a decision.
Rodolfo?
Yeah.
And you're talking about a fight where Rodolfo attempted like 20 takedowns and didn't land a single one. But Jack Hermanson's a way better grappler than Rodolfo Vieira in terms of offensive wrestling. Yes. Obviously not BJJ, but
yeah.
I like Chris Curtis here. He's a slight favorite. I think it's a decent matchup for him. I'm not going to bet him at like a steep favorite price tag. Like if I could get him at even money or like around a dog play, I like it. I think it's a decent matchup for him, but I wouldn't get on a price tag at like minus 150. I think that's getting a little carried away, and it's a little bit disrespectful to Jack Hermansson, honestly.
Well, it wasn't that long ago, wasn't it? Maybe 2016, 2017, Jack Hermansson was kind of the UFC was kind of looking at him as who could be next at 185. He was putting together some statement victories. He was looking good. People were kind of high on him, and it looks like he's kind of fallen off there. He lost to Jared Cannonier, then he beat Gastelum, then he lost to Vittori, then he beat Edmund Shabazian, and then he lost to Sean Strickland, right? So it's been kind of feast or famine for Jack Hermansson over the past few years, but he's certainly not somebody to count out with 11 knockouts and 6 submissions on his resume.
Yeah, the guy's going to fight for your money, and he fights super high level. It's going to be a really good fight. I think both guys are good fighters. I think that the talent level is relatively similar. Yeah. I think Curtis is the better striker. And I think if he keeps it on the feet over the course of 3, he should get the nod.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I think it's time because I know you're excited. I know your favorite fighter is on the card, so let's just get into it. Patty, the baddie, Pimblett, is taking on Jordan. I forget his actual nickname, but I know he twerks a lot. Leave it.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
I mean, they gave him a guy in Jordan Leavitt who isn't the most spectacular prospect, right? Coming off of a split decision win, right? It's,
He's 10-1.
He is 10-1
with 5 fights in the UFC, or 4 fights in the UFC, and then Dana White's Contender Series. But he's 3-1 in the UFC, 4-1 in his last 5. I mean, he's not. I feel like he's getting disrespected because he likes to dance a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, he's not nobody.
Who's he beat though?
Beat Matt Wyman. Beat Matt Sales. Beat Trey Ogden.
All these guys are out of the UFC, man. I don't know.
Lost to Claudia Puelles. who I'm not sure if Claudio Puelles is still in the UFC either.
No, he is. He's actually, yeah, he had actually a really nasty knee bar at Clay Guida in his last time out.
Oh, all right. Well, there you go.
That's not the worst loss. It's just that the wins don't blow me away. He had a really close competitive matchup in his last one out against a guy making his UFC debut. The UFC's back in London with their cash cow. The line is a little interesting. I think you know who the favorite is.
I do know who the favorite is.
Yeah. You know, this isn't a fucking mystery who the UFC wants to win here.
No.
You know, so Paddy Pimblett minus 265, Jordan Levitt plus 215. The UFC's setting up Paddy. You know, they're giving him a guy who, like you said, you can make a case or an argument that he has a decent resume in the UFC. I just don't see it with level of competition. But, you know, I think Paddy's a fraud.
Yeah.
So at plus 215, I'm going to take Jordan Levitt.
Don't you love the baddie? Yeah, I mean, look, everything that you would say about Jordan Levitt's resume, though, you could say about Paddy's resume right now, right? Paddy has a win over Rodrigo Vargas and a win over Luigi Vendramini.
Exactly.
You know, and I don't feel as strongly one way or the other about Paddy as you do. I was a little bit hyped when he beat Luigi Vendramini.
I like Paddy as a fighter. I like the message that he spreads. I like him on the mic. I like what he has to say. I like his persona. I just don't think a guy who lost a 5-rounder to a borderline UFC guy back in Cage Warriors, his name's escaping me, and that's all that really needs to be said. The resume is just not there for me. I don't get the hype. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean, look, anytime the UFC tries to give me fake hype, I don't like it. I didn't like it when they did it with Sage Northcutt. I didn't like it when they did it with Paige Van Zant. I didn't like it when they tried it with CM Punk. And I like CM Punk as a person, as a wrestler. I like CM Punk. I didn't like it when they did it then. I had to root for Mickey Gall. You know how upsetting that was for me? Yeah, I don't like when they try to hit us with that fake hype. I'm not super high on that. So I hear you, but the one thing I will say about Paddy the Baddy is I don't like the way he fights. I feel like he is just setting himself up to get sparked one of these days.
He does leave his chin on a swivel.
Not just open, he leaves it borderline presented, right? I mean, it is just out there for the taking. And I have to imagine if you're Sean Shelby, you've got to know that, right? Like, you've got to see this dude fight and know someone's gonna do it. It's the 155-pound division. Someone's gonna take that chin eventually.
But you know what you do until then?
Keep giving him the Jordan Levitts of the world.
You set him up with a guy who's got 1 KO, TKO in his entire career.
Yeah.
That's how you do that. You set him up against the guy whose only finish is a KO slam against Weidman. Okay, so that's a fictitious KO too. All right, that's counterfeit. That's not even a real KO. He picked him up, took him down. If you watch the fight, Matt Weidman lands on his head. So basically, the guy doesn't have a single KO, TKO on his entire resume. He's a point fighter. And that's exactly what Paddy needs, to further this money train. I'm going to take Levitt for the sole fact that I just think they're both fraudulent and one guy's plus 220. In no way, shape, or form do I advise you to back this for the sole fact that there are too many eggs in the basket of Paddy Pimblett. There's too many chips stacked against us. There's other spots on the card where we can get value.
Yeah, I mean, and if Jordan Levitt had any more stability in his hands, if I could look at that resume and see a few more knockouts, even if they were low level, right? He got him in the extreme cage fighters of South Dakota, I'd still back Levitt here because Luigi Vendramini was not far from having Patty out of that thing.
No.
No. I think somebody sometime is coming for that chin. Unless, and look, I think Patty's grappling is worth the hype. He trains with Justin Flores, who is, I think, one of the best grapplers, one of the most well-rounded grappling coaches in the world. He trains with him a lot. So Patty's grappling, I think, is deserving of the hype. Patty's chin might be another story, and someone's going to come for it eventually in this weight class. Someone's going to take it. There are sharks in those deep waters, and they're coming for chins. So I agree with you. This is one that's probably, unless you're a real wild man, unless you really want to start getting bang for your dollar, lay off this one.
Yeah, I'd probably stay off it. But like I said last week, when we had or 2 weeks ago at Ricky Tercios, if I think they're fraudulent, I'm going to bet against them.
Yeah.
So for that sake alone, if Jordan Levitt won, I'd be beside myself. So for that reason, I'm going to take a little flyer on him. And I honestly want to see him twerk in the cage after beating Patty Timblett. That would be the most amazing Saturday morning as far as
can you imagine you're a UFC fighter, you've just lost a close decision, and your opponent decides to twerk inside the cage? Oof. I'd be furious.
It'd be rough, but
I'd be furious. I would be so upset.
He's done it every time he's won, right?
Every single time.
Yeah. So
yeah, they are. Those are some dance moves that he has. Jordan Levitt's hips don't lie.
Good for Jordan Levitt, man.
What his hands do, I don't know, but the hips don't lie.
The Monkey King. That's his nickname.
That's his nickname, is the Monkey King. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. If you're Patty and you lose to Jordan Levitt, I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah, you're done.
Like, that's it.
This is one of those ones, kind of like we talked about before the pod, where it's really not that big of a win situation for Patty.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he should roll this guy. The line's minus 265. So the betting public, they're not hopping on Patty like they were Aspinall. They're not hopping on Patty like they are Molly McCann. The English bettors are even a little bit hesitant on Patty. And that's got to tell you a little bit of something. If even, your heart, the people aren't betting with their hearts with this one.
Yeah, that might say something. I don't know.
That's interesting to me. I thought this would have been lined a little bit wider.
Yeah, this is but this is an interesting. I was thinking about this while I was taking some notes earlier. What is sort of an interesting time period for the 10-8 pod? We're now getting to the point where we're starting to talk about fighters multiple times having fights coming up, which tells me we've actually been doing this for a little while now.
Yeah.
Because last time Patty and Molly were on a card, we were doing a podcast.
Yeah, we're starting to get some repeat fighters now.
Yeah, we're starting to get a little traction in here, and I love to see that. I know the millions of fans love to see it. I love to see it. That's a personal victory, I think, for us.
We go on a long journey together. It's what it's all about.
That's it. We're walking this road until we hit the end of it. Where that's going to be 10, 20, 30 years from now, I don't know.
We're just going to enjoy the ride.
That's it. We're going to enjoy the ride for as long as we can. First time fighter that we haven't had a chance to talk about on this podcast, Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson taking on Nikita Krylov.
I can honestly say Alexander Gustafsson is one of my favorite fighters.
Okay.
You were talking about top 5 moments in UFC history where we were like, whoa.
Sure.
When he knocked out Glover Teixeira in the 5th round in Stockholm, Sweden, and then proposed to his now wife. That was one of the most insane knockouts, combinations, setups I've ever seen. And then to see where Glover's career has ended up since that fight is over, it's a good look for Gustafsson. I mean, obviously, though, he does have some bad losses. He's taking on Nikita Krylov here. Who you like? Who's a favorite?
I got to imagine Gustafsson is the favorite.
They're giving you plus 150 dog money on Goose.
Well, there's my lock of the card.
There it is.
There it is. There's no way. There's no way Gustafsson should not be the favorite here. I mean, he is other than Dominic Reyes, he has the strongest argument for having defeated John Jones.
Yep.
Him and John Jones put on one of the best fights, I think, in MMA history. Certainly a top 15 fight in MMA history. And Nikita Krylov is obviously he's business, but if you look at his last 5, it's a loss to Paul Craig.
He was beating his ass, but Paul Craig did Paul Craig things.
Paul Craig did Paul Craig things and submitted him, right? Then it's Ankalaev loss. He beat Johnny Walker, who came in with a lot of hype, but that hype train has been derailed substantially, I think. A loss to Glover Teixeira, and then a win over Ovince St. Preux. That last 5, it does not read to me like somebody who's going to go in there and defeat Alexander the Mauler Gustafsson.
Yeah, I mean,
and Gustafsson's on a 3-fight skid, right?
And he's on what, a 3-year layoff too?
3-year layoff. So he lost to Fabricio, he lost to Anthony the Lionheart Smith, and then he lost to John Jones.
Yeah.
So
and then the last 2 wins were Glover Teixeira and Jan Blachowicz. So the last 2 light heavyweight champions.
Yes.
Are his last 2 wins.
So
and his last losses against the heavyweight.
Yeah.
The Anthony Smith loss is fucking suspect, though. That did happen in the 4th round, but that scares the living shit out of me.
I mean, look,
how do you lose to Anthony Smith and beat Glover Teixeira?
It's fair,
right?
But look, I mean, that's the beauty of mixed martial arts, right? Is that on any given day, the guy who brings it, the guy who wants it more, can go out there and get it. And who knows? It was just the Lionheart's night. I'm obviously a Lionheart fan. I think he's a great fighter. I think he's also kind of an underrated fighter at times. But I mean, no, but that's sandwiched between a loss to a heavyweight and a loss to the light heavyweight GOAT. So I can't see a universe where Gustafsson should be the underdog here. I really can't.
I think it just goes to the motivation, right? I mean, he's on a 2-year layoff. Hopefully his motivation's there. But I really think, to keep it short and sweet, is you're getting Alexander Gustafsson at plus money. It's just kind of a play. It's kind of one of those things where if you're going to give me a plus number on a guy who I think at any point in time could be a top 5 guy in the world, it's just a go. I agree with you. I'm taking Alexander Gustafsson too.
Let me ask you this, though, while we're on the topic of the light heavyweight division, a division that was once really the premier division of the UFC, right? It was once, this was where the killers lived, was in the light heavyweight division. Sort of had a little bit of a fall off, I think, since John Jones sort of cleaned out the division handily and then kind of left. And where he'll wash back up, nobody knows. What does it do to the light heavyweight picture if Gustafsson wins? So you had Glover fight Yuri. Glover's beating Yuri. Yuri submits Glover. Glover had said to Jan, if I win the belt, the rematch is yours. But he didn't win the belt. I guess Jan has to fight Yuri, right?
Yuri said he's fighting Glover next.
But Yuri wants to fight Glover and run it back with him again?
He posted it on his IG that's the next fight he's doing.
If I'm the UFC, I'm going to put the kibosh on that real quick. I'm going to say you are not running it back with Glover Teixeira.
I couldn't agree more.
There's just no way. There are just too many good fights to make, and love Glover, love old man Teixeira, but this man's career has had 3 resurgences at this point. It's you have to let other people in here.
Yeah. I think the UFC kind of wants him to die off. And honestly, he was 30 seconds away from winning the fight against Yuri, though.
Yeah, look, that's fair, right? To Glover's credit, the UFC wants him to die off. He has not given them a good reason to not give him fights now.
He's a shitty matchup for Yuri, too.
He is a tough matchup for Yuri.
Jan's a way better matchup for Yuri.
Yeah, I agree. But what does that do to Gustafsson, right? With a win over Jan, you don't have that, Glover Jan sort of bond here where they need to fight each other. Yuri's a little bit more of a blank slate.
Yeah, no, that's you brought up a good point. It's like you're going to get a guy with automatic name value. You know what I mean? Like, you're telling me that this guy couldn't be thrusted into a title position, especially with, how we're talking about how thin the light heavyweight division is right now.
And Yuri Gustafsson, that's going to be fireworks.
That would be fucking sweet.
That's going to be fireworks. That is a good fucking fight.
Yeah, we just got to hope Gustafsson gets past Krylov.
Yeah.
Because it's a little greasy. It's a greasy fight. That Nikita's going to pose some problems.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're gonna tail him because he's plus money. But if he gets past Nikita Krylov, that the light heavyweight division could be reinvigorated right now with a little Gustafsson action.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I got to tell you, I mean, I look at, who's left in the light heavyweight division and who I think poses the most problems for the most amount of people. And honestly, I think it's Gustafsson, like prime Gustafsson, right?
Yeah, I mean, just like stylistically speaking, of what right now is representative of the light heavyweight division, he's an issue because he's a striker, right?
He's an absolute banger.
And when he made his run in his prime, the light heavyweight division was loaded with Daniel Cormier and John Jones, guys who tried to wrestle him. So, Yuri and Jan, those guys pose a pretty favorable matchup for Gustafsson. So it's a big if, though. He has to get past Nikita Krylov here. This is a big if, but you're right. The writing's on the wall if Gustafsson can pull this one out. Yeah.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, of the three guys who are all swirling around the question for who's going to have the belt, Yuri, he hasn't fought yet.
Yeah.
Yuri has the belt. Jan and Glover both have losses on their record at the hands of the Mauler. So I don't know. Let's put a pin in the light heavyweight division because we might be talking a little bit about it next week, depending on outcome.
I would love that. That gets me more excited now for Sunday because of that.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. That's what I'm here for.
Appreciate it.
And excitement's going to pitter off a little bit now. All right. We're going to have to lose a little bit of excitement here because Molly the Meatball McCann is fighting Hannah 24 karat Goldie.
Yes.
How amped are you for this fight? 1 and 2 in the UFC, Hannah Goldie, whose actual name is Goldfinch.
This is an interesting one.
Go on.
Molly McCann, if you had to guess, you think she's the favorite in this one?
I would think so.
In London?
Yeah.
Going out on a limb.
Yep.
Massive favorite.
Okay.
All right. Minus 430, minus 500 range. We're starting to get into that, that Kayla Harrison territory. Hannah Goldie can wrestle.
She can. And her only win in the UFC is an armbar over Emily Whitmire.
Okay. Against, Emily Whitmire, who's no longer in the UFC. Molly McCann has a submission loss to Jillian Robertson in the first round, which was pretty effortlessly. She took her down and subbed her. There is a route to victory for Hannah Goldie.
Yeah.
And if this thing gets steamed down where like you're going to give me like a plus 500 flyer on Hannah Goldie, I don't ever want to bet on Hannah Goldie.
But you're going to have to.
But you put me in a position where Molly McCann is getting way too much respect from odds makers. And just for that reason, just because there is a route to victory for Hannah Goldie, I'm going to keep my eye on that line. I think it moves considerably, same as Aspinall. I think all the English fighters' lines are going to get wider and wider come fight time. So if you want to hop on an English fighter, bet them right now. And if you want to go the other way, you got time. Don't worry about it. I'm not betting Molly McCann at minus 500 against anybody.
No.
And that's the assessment overall of the fight. Well, let's get a little 24 karat Goldie.
Hey, look, I mean, it could be done, right? It wouldn't surprise me. It could be done. She can wrestle, and look, I think nobody throws a wrench into a plan quite like a wrestler, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You just never know what they're gonna do. You never know how they're gonna fuck up your night by getting you against a cage and grinding you out and pulling your legs out from under you and sitting on your back. You never know. So, yeah, listen, I might take a flyer here.
It's just the value's there. The value's there.
So are you saying we got to follow Sure Picks on Twitter?
Yeah, I mean that goes without saying. If you did last week, we put the flyer out on Schnell.
Yes.
You bet Schnell. I know that was a rocky one. It's not one to really tout, but
yeah,
we'll cash a plus 200 ticket. Yeah, I'll take the flyer on Goldie, but there's a lot of guys that I like to bet down this card. There's a lot of guys I like on this card.
Well, let's not spend too much time in Molly Meatball McCann's backyard, because there is a fighter from the English Isle, little bit north of Liverpool, who I actually do like. We got Paul Craig, the Bear Jew, coming out of Scotland, ready to go.
Yep.
I like Paul Craig, man. I really do. He's such a slick submission artist. I really love watching this dude fight.
Yeah.
And fighting Volkan Ozdemir, right? I mean, that's a good one. You gotta love that.
You have an idea who's the favorite?
I'm gonna say Paul Craig is the favorite.
He's an underdog.
Is he really?
He's plus 135.
Wow.
Volkan Ozdemir can be had for minus 165.
Interesting.
It's a relatively good line. I have extremely strong take on this fight. Extremely strong conviction on this one.
Okay. Let me hear it.
Where do you think I'm leaning? Where are you leaning? I want your take. Let's get your take on this fight first.
I'm leaning to Paul Craig.
Okay. You like the plus money?
Oh, I like the plus money, but more than that, I like Paul Craig. I mean, he's a guy that you think is going to be out of there, and then you pull it off a little bit, and he's not, and he submits you in some weird way. I think he's got some of the slickest jiu-jitsu and MMA right now. If you look at his record, he has 13 submission victories in 16 wins. That's such a high percentage to win by submission. And, if you look at, and I was just glancing here, right? It's not just your typical rear naked chokes, right? It's triangle chokes, it's rear naked chokes, it's kimuras, it's arm bars, it's guillotines, it's fucking 7 years ago, a Bravo choke. I mean, he's a slick submission fighter.
Uh-oh, Zach.
What's that?
Uh-oh.
Do we have a different take?
No, but we'll see. Uh-oh, Zach.
You're writing something down.
Uh-oh, Zach.
My anxiety is high.
Keep going. You finishing up? What do we got?
No, that was it. I like Paul Craig because I like the way he fights.
All right. You can't see what that says because it's backwards.
Max bet. It's not backwards. You held it up to the camera, so it's forwards.
Volkan Ozdemir, max bet. The line's off. He's going to sleep Paul Craig. I'm backing the Brinks truck up to Volkan No Time Ozdemir.
Fair enough.
If you want me to give the reasoning, the line's out of whack. I think the magic's run out for Paul Craig. If you look at Paul Craig's wins, right? We talked about him, the subs, Jamal Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Why the hell is Jamal Hill going to the ground with him? We don't know. Mauricio Shogun Rua.
Well, he TKO'd Jamal Hill.
Well, no, he pulled his arm out of his socket.
Yeah, but it was a punch and elbow TKO.
No, it was stopped because his elbow was pulled out of his socket.
Go on.
It was not a TKO. That is a falsity. Mauricio Shogun Rua, not a good win. Antagulov, terrible win. He drew Mauricio Shogun before that. Mm-hmm. Vinicius Moreira, worst fighter in UFC history, beat him. Knocked out by Alonzo Menafield in the first round.
Sure.
Submitted by Jimmy Crute, Kimura. He got knocked out by Khalil Roundtree, knocked out by Tyson Pedro. I like Paul Craig too. I love the fight that he brings. He's entertaining as can be. But Volkan Oezdemir is not going to the ground with him. He's not going to follow him to the ground like some of these other guys were. Nikita Krylov, how did he get subbed? Took him to the ground. How did Jamal Hill get subbed? Took him to the ground. How did Gadzamuradov Antagulov get subbed? Took him to the ground. I mean, when are these guys going to learn to not take this guy to the ground? The guy's got one of the nastiest triangles in the game. I think he's getting way too much respect from the odds maker because he's pulled the last 3 fights out of his ass. I just think this is a great matchup for Volkan.
Interesting.
I really do. I love it.
Fair enough.
Volkan Oezdemir knockout. Max bet.
Fair enough. Max bet Volkan Oezdemir.
Yep.
And this is the Volkan Oezdemir who got rear naked choked by Anthony Smith, right?
Yep. Correct.
Okay. And got neck cranked by Kelly Adnanson in Bellator
8 years ago.
I just want to make sure.
8 years ago. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure that we were talking about the same Volkan Oezdemir.
Mm-hmm. We are.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. The 10-8 pod is once again at odds.
That's okay.
Once again at odds. Listen, styles make fights.
100%.
Styles make fights.
Styles make fights, and I think this is a good matchup for Volkan. I really, really do. Just please, just don't go to the ground, Volkan. That's it. Just don't go to the ground.
But I think that's the problem, right? And this is how I feel. And I hate watching Paul Craig as much as I like Paul Craig. I hate watching him
because he's pulling guard.
Everyone is a good matchup for Paul Craig, right? Everyone is, because he has one thing and one thing only. And if he can't do it, he's going to lose.
Exactly.
But he seems to continue doing it.
100%. But it's all guys that went into the realm. It's not like he made those, you know what I mean? He didn't win those fights. Those guys that he fought lost those fights.
He won those fights.
I know, but why are you going to the ground with him? It just doesn't. When the guy you just talked about his resume being so, heavily in favor of a submission game, that's his only path to victory.
Yeah.
He's been slept by guys who, aren't as big of a hitter as Volkan Oezdemir is. I think Volkan Oezdemir is a monster too. I think he's one of the best light heavyweights in the division. Right? Look at his 2 losses: Magomed Ankalaev and Yuri.
His last 2 losses.
Yeah, and then he has a win over Alexander Rakic, Alir Latifi, a split decision with Reyes. Anthony Smith went on a hell of a run. That was when he subbed Gustafsson too.
Yep.
Right around there. So Anthony Smith, I don't know what he was doing, but he had a fucking hell of a run. I'll give him that much.
He did. They got him a fight with John Jones.
And then his other loss is Daniel Cormier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's a great matchup for Volkan. I really do. Volkan, no time Oezdemir, baby. Let's ride.
Well, you've heard it here first, folks. The 10-8 is at odds. You listen, you make your decisions based on what we've said, and you kind of go from there. What else you like on this card? You mentioned there were a few others down low you liked for the money. I'll let you kind of take over here. Tell us where to put our money this week.
Mark Diaz minus 367 against Damir Hadzovic. I just don't see where Mark Diaz loses the fight. I know he's a huge favorite. He's an instant plug-in parlay piece for me. I don't see anywhere where Damir Hadzovic beats him. Mark Diaz minus 367. Lock it in. We'll go a little bit down the card. Makwan Amirkhani, Jonathan Pierce. Makwan Amirkhani plus 170. Mr. Finland. We're rocking with it, baby. We're going Mr. Finland plus 170 underdog. We got Charles Rosa, Nathaniel Wood minus 600. We're locking that in. Do you know a lot about Charles Johnson? I know our boy Brooklyn Mike is apparently gaming with him and is a friend of Charles Energy Johnson. I haven't seen.
I think you're referencing Mike from the Bronx.
Mike from the Bronx, yes.
Mike from the Bronx. We don't yet have a Brooklyn Mike, although I could see us having a Brooklyn Mike in the future.
Every time I'm with Mike, I'm in Brooklyn, so it's fair to say.
That is fair. But Mike is a true loyal son of the Bronx. Arthur Ave's finest. Mike from the Bronx. What's up, brother? We love you. No, I do not know a ton about Charles Johnson, other than I know that apparently him and Mike have gamed together.
100%, because Muhammad Makayev, people are saying is, the next big thing.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of hype on him. The price tag, it definitely shows that there's a lot of hype on him. I'll lay off that fight just because I don't know Charles Johnson energy enough, and there's a couple fights I like. Here's one that interests me, Zach.
Go ahead, tell me about it.
And this is a guy that we've talked about before. We've covered before.
Sure.
And he's made me shit my pants a little bit before.
Yeah.
Jai Herbert, Kyle Nelson.
Yeah.
Jai Herbert is a huge favorite in this fight.
The Black Country banger, Jai Herbert.
Why is he a huge favorite in this fight?
Coming from Wolverhampton in the Midlands.
He's 0-3, right? Coming off 3 knockouts, like brutal knockouts.
Well, no, he's lost 3 of his last 4.
Yep.
So he lost to Ilia Topuria.
Brutally slept.
Brutally slept.
Mm-hmm.
Although looked good against Ilia Topuria before he was brutally slept. And we had a long conversation about that. He knocked out Kamaworthy. Lost via rear naked choke to Renato Carneiro, and then lost via TKO to Francisco Trinaldo.
And that was a really nasty stoppage. Francisco Trinaldo had a nasty stoppage.
Yeah, fighting Kyle Nelson, the monster. I don't know why I don't know. I look at Kyle Nelson, and his last 4 fights are not overly impressive. A loss to Billy Quarantillo via KO, a win over Marco Polo Reyes, a loss to Matt Sales, a loss to Diego Ferreira.
That's not a bad loss, but yeah.
I mean, it's not a bad loss, although I don't know. I don't know that any of this reaches the point where Jai Herbert, the Black Country banger, should be a heavy favorite.
Yeah.
I ever tell you about the weekend I spent in the Midlands in England?
You have not.
Terrifying.
Really?
Absolutely terrifying place. I think it's the inspiration for Werewolves of London.
I love that movie.
Great movie, right? So when he gets eaten in the countryside of England, that's I think supposed to be the Midlands. I stayed with 2 lovely people, Rick and Ro. They were lovely, very nice folks. Had me into their home.
Shout out Rick and Ro.
Shout out Rick and Ro. It is so fucking quiet in the Midlands that your thoughts are deafening.
Wow.
Deafening. It is a terrifying place. For somebody who lives in Philadelphia, somebody who after spending a weekend in the Midlands, then lived 9 months in the city of London. I've spent a lot of my adult life in large cities. That level of silence is absolutely terrifying to me. I can see how they made a horror movie like Werewolves of London out of it. I don't know. Maybe that's why the Black Country banger is a huge favorite. Maybe they know there's something in the water in the Midlands. Maybe he's going full werewolf mode. I don't know.
That's very interesting observation. I like that. That was a very, very interesting piece there. I just can't get behind Jai Herbert at -300. I just can't do it. Kyle Nelson, like you said, he's been finished a couple times. He has 1 good round in him. But he's going to be live for that first 5 minutes. I might sprinkle Kyle Nelson first round KO.
Throw a little flyer in there.
I'll curious to see the odds. I'm going to post it on the Twitter.
Here, I'm going to tell you why I don't like that pick.
Okay. Because
if Ilia Topuria could not finish Jai Herbert in the first round, I don't think Charles Johnson is going to do it.
Kyle Nelson, but
Kyle Nelson.
The thing that we're really missing with Ilia Topuria is he went up a weight class on 2 weeks short notice.
Okay? Yeah, but he's still Ilia Topuria.
I know, but you're fighting a guy who's way, 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 way smaller. Kyle Nelson's going to be the same weight as Jai Herbert. He's got 1 good round in him. And if you have if you've been knocked out as brutally as that, I just don't know if your chin is there. He's the better technical guy. But if you're going to give me a flyer on a guy who's been knocked out brutally like that, I don't get the respect that he's getting on the odds.
I don't disagree with your math, right? Yeah. You've shown your work and I agree with it. I just disagree with the solution. The math is there. I think the solution for me is not, right? I don't see, and I know he's bigger, I don't see Kyle Nelson succeeding where Ilia Topuria failed. I just don't see it. That's me. But listen,
I'm glad you're on the Ilia Topuria train.
I mean, the man put a statement piece on there, right? Like he viciously knocked out Jai Herbert. I said then, and I'll reiterate again, Jai Herbert looked good until he didn't.
Yeah.
He did look good against Ilia Topuria. Looked better than I think a lot of people thought he would. Looked great.
Can he take a shot?
What's that?
Can he take a shot?
We're going to find out.
That's the question mark I have.
We're going to find out, and it's an interesting question mark.
No, it's not the technicality I'm worried about. It's the durability.
It's fair. It's fair. I'm look, it's a fair question, and we're going to get an answer to it this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, he could make Kyle Nelson look like Kyle Nelson, but I just think value-wise, there's an opportunity possibly. So we'll see.
Anything else on this card you wanted to chit-chat about?
One last thing.
Tell me.
A fight that I couldn't get the line for because it's not listed anywhere. It's not posted on DraftKings salaries or lineups, and it's a fire fight. Mason Jones, Ludovic Klein. That's a really, really, really good fight. Mason Jones is coming off of win against our guy, our Namdi, our boy, who I said is a guy who's going to win a belt. This is Mason Jones's last win. Ludovic Klein, I believe he's a Slovakian fighter. He had a lot of hype coming into the UFC, and he hasn't really lived up to it. I love Mason Jones here, but I can't find a line on it. But that's going to be a fun fight. Look for Mason Jones. He's a big up-and-coming prospect that I think a lot of people it might be his coming out party this weekend.
Well, I just want to and listen, we focus primarily on the UFC as much with the UFC as we do. For those of you who are early risers who want to maybe broaden your horizons a little bit, if maybe you want to see how MMA gets made by watching some other disciplines, 159 is this Friday morning. Main events are both pretty good. We have Rainier de Ritter versus Vitaly Bigdash. We have Janet Todd versus Laura Fernandez. Janet Todd, Muay Thai murderer coming out of the United States. We got Smokin' Joe Nadawit, another Muay Thai killer out of the United States against Jamal Yusupov. This is not one of one's better cards. I've seen better cards for one before. But this is a heavy Muay Thai card, a heavy kickboxing card. So if the striking aspect of MMA really appeals to you, I think I would really recommend you kind of expand your horizons into some Muay Thai. If betting really appeals to you, there is no place that bets quite like Lumpini Stadium in Thailand on Muay Thai fights. So if you wanted to expand those horizons a little bit, and we, of course, always encourage our fans to expand your horizons. It's not all UFC. There is other stuff going on in the world. I think a great place to start is on one. I think Chatri, Yodsen Klai, I think is his last name. Whoever runs one, the Dana White of one has he's got a great way to differentiate himself from the UFC, right? You're going to get MMA on there. You're going to get some good high-level MMA with people you've never heard of. A lot of really interesting fighters coming from Asia who maybe have not made it or won't make it to the UFC for one reason or another. You're going to get world-class Muay Thai. Fucking Rod Tang is fighting next month on one. And they've got jiu-jitsu guys who are some of the best in the world. They have both of the Rutolo brothers. They have Gary Tonin. They have Shinya Aoki. I think Gordon Ryan is technically signed to one, but he hasn't done anything with them yet. But you're going to get world-class Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Mighty Mouse, right?
What's that?
Mighty Mouse?
Yeah, Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse, who actually beat Rod Tang in an MMA fight.
Eddie Alvarez?
Eddie Alvarez, the Underground King.
I think he might still be with one.
Last time he fought, he was still with one. I don't know if he's still fighting, but you got some absolute murderers on one's payroll, and they put on some fantastic cards, just some sleeper cards. So
For
I
sure.
would recommend expanding the palette. Check out one. You ready to get to the news and notes from this week?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot going on right now in MMA.
There is a lot going on right now in MMA.
19 straight sellouts as well.
Yeah.
You post COVID, UFC's been going up, man. The ceiling is starting to rise.
Well, the one thing, and listen, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Dana White's obviously crazy like a fox. He figured out during COVID that he was the only dog in town. He was the only show in town. You know, when the MLB went dark, when the NBA went dark, when we didn't know what the future of team sports were going to look like, Dana White was like, well, I have the Apex here in Las Vegas. I can put on fights with no fans, but I can put them on TV. And I think he had probably a year or the better part of a year where the UFC was it. That was it. If you wanted to watch sports, you better get into mixed martial arts real quick because they were putting on weekly cards, man.
Took a ton of shit, took a ton of flack early when that was not a popular decision. And he
Fight Island.
Yep.
Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. They bought, which by the way, worth noting, Fight Island was not an island, it was a peninsula, which bothered me a little bit. Let's be honest about it. Call it Fight Peninsula. Don't lie.
Did you look up the map of it?
Yeah.
Just oof.
Yeah, it's a peninsula.
It looks phenomenal.
It looked cool as shit. I actually kind of hoped they were going to do more with that island and that sort of, having fights on the beach like that. I just like the aesthetic.
They announced the big one though.
They announced the big one in Abu Dhabi, but is it going to be on Fight Island or is it going to be in their arena?
I honestly thought they were the same thing.
No, so I think they had like beachfront that they were going to have some fights on. I thought they were going to do more with it. I digress. To the UFC's credit, they were, everybody there was fine. I mean, if you want to give Dana White credit, I kind of got to tell you, this isn't the place to do it. I mean, when they put on fights during COVID, the corners were always masked up. They had as much COVID safety as they possibly could have for however you feel your opinions on COVID are. They were able to put on live events in the time of COVID and still satisfy somewhat of a COVID safety background, whatever. But you're right. They struck while the iron was hot. They made hay while the sun shined. And I think more people are MMA fans now than ever before.
100%.
There's an interesting side effect. Did you see on Twitter that ESPN reshared something from ESPN MMA? They put the aftermath of the Sumadarji Matt Schnell fight, which was a bloodbath of a fight. Big ESPN reshared ESPN MMA, and the normies were not happy. They were not happy. There were a lot of comments that said this is not a sport. This is brutality. This is a bloodbath. This should come with a content warning. Fuck off.
Can't please them all.
Fuck right off.
Couldn't agree more.
If you were one of the assholes, first of all, if you were somebody who commented this isn't a sport, you can fuck right off to fucking Mars. You fucking jerk off. That's number one.
Agreed.
No, that's not. This is the first sport.
Yeah.
This shit was at the first Olympics.
Yeah.
Wrestling, pancration. You want to go back in Japanese history to samurai culture. You want to go back in Viking history to Viking culture, Greek culture, Roman culture. This shit is the first fucking sport. So first of all, bend over and fuck your own face if you think this shit isn't a sport. That's number one. Number two, if this shit is a little too brutal for you, if this is a little too real for you, the next time Tom Brady gets drilled in the backfield and takes another shot of fucking CTE to the fucking dome, I better not hear any of these assholes cheering. I better not hear it. The next time an NBA player lands funny on his knee and blows out his fucking ACL into the first row, I better not hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't hear about brutality. This shit needs a content warning. This shit needs a trigger warning. It's blood. Fuck off. Matt Schnell and Sumadarji walked out of that cage. How many football players are we going to watch get carted off the field this year?
I mean, 100%. I mean,
because of career-ending injuries.
Agreed. I mean, it sounds like you're addressing a very sheltered opinion. Is what it kind of comes down to. And I talked about it a little bit before with the Matt Schnell and Sumidarji fight. That was a display of art. And I honestly mean that. When you talk about two guys putting it all on the line, risking their lives, there's a beauty in that. It's the last leg of defense. It's the primal instinct. It's what everybody on this world was basically born to do, was to fight for themselves. It's a beautiful thing to see, and I don't even want to address the sheltered comments on Twitter.
I have bad news.
I'm glad you're hyped up, though. I love the energy.
I have bad news.
Okay.
I'm empty.
Oh.
We're at a goat here. We're at a CVD goat. So I don't know how we get the train back on the tracks. It bothers me, and I think you'd agree with me that I am probably the part of this duo that is the purest for martial arts. You know, I like it in all of its forms. I will watch Point Karate. I will watch an old Kung Fu movie. I'll watch, whatever you got. I'll watch Lethwai in Burma. I'll get up early to watch Muay Thai at Lumpini or Ramdan Stadium in Thailand. Really, I do love this stuff. This is my chosen sport in all of its many aspects. But you touched on something, and one that's the beauty of it, right? Mm-hmm. Matt Schnell got a submission victory. Mm-hmm. In all of that blood, mm-hmm. all of the punches he took from Sumidarji, all of the damage he took, he was able to have his wits about him to come back and actually submit the other fighter. Meaning he didn't knock him out. He didn't punch his teeth down his throat. He actually sank a choke in, and the level of grit and toughness, but the level of wherewithal that you have to be taking that kind of abuse and still look for a submission victory. I don't see that in any other sport. You know what I mean? In football, you get tackled, the play starts over. In MMA, you get tackled, and until somebody pulls the other guy off of you, you'd better figure out what to do now that you've been tackled. There is, I think, a supreme level of beauty on display there. And it is, and look, I hate to quote Dana White when I agree with him, but it is the great equalizer. It is something that I think does surpass any other cultural boundary, right? Whether it be language or upbringing or where you're from or how you were raised or whatever it is, everybody understands a fight. Everybody understands. You don't need a translator to understand a fight. I'll tell you this right now. I've been told that cricket is a beautiful sport. Mm-hmm. I have tried to watch it. Mm-hmm. I cannot understand it. But not a single one of my friends who tried to introduce me to cricket would have any trouble understanding a fight between Matt Schnell and Sumidarji.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's in our blood. I mean, the Roman Colosseums, I mean, in history, like this is something that, it gets the juices flowing. There's something beautiful about the vulnerability of somebody in an octagon when you're fighting. There's just somebody's laying it all in the line. There's no more exposure of being in the limelight. You're laying it all in the line. Literally, your life is on the line. And with so much bullshit these days and so much, what's the word I'm looking for? So much rhetoric and so much being thrown around. It's beautiful to see something that you can just take it for what it is. That's what fighting is. That's it. And look, first of all, you're talking my language, John Boy. I've never loved you more in this moment. But also at the end of the day, if you are somebody who is if your constitution does not allow you to enjoy any sort of human suffering, then okay, then I get it. But if you're commenting on, look, there are some people, right? There are some people that's just not for them, right? It's not for them, and I get it. And we've advanced as a society. It doesn't have to be for you. But if you're commenting on ESPN's Twitter, I assume you follow ESPN, which I assume means you like sports to some degree. Mm-hmm. Well, they had to make a movie about CTE in the NFL. The rock star Will Smith fucking starred in it. You know what I'm saying? How many guys have blown out ACLs in basketball games or baseball games? So don't give me this bullshit that you needed a content warning for a mixed martial arts fight. Yeah. Don't give me that nonsense. We don't have enough memory on our MacBooks to address the hypocrisy that goes on with some of these statements, but those people can fuck all the way off.
And quite frankly, if this turns some people off from MMA, fucking so be it. I don't care. Ridiculous.
Yeah, that's okay. It might not be for you. It's not for everybody, but to talk, it's different when you're throwing stones, living in glass houses. Come on now, people, get a grip.
If you're one of those people, you are at risk to be trolled by John or I on Twitter.
Oh no, you're definitely probably going to be trolled.
Yeah, and you're going to deserve it.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for it. You realize when you're going out there and you're putting the comment that you're opening this up for social debate online, and that's what Twitter is, baby. That's why it's the medium it is.
And I'll say this, as far as lasting injuries go, as far as like injuries that follow you past your retirement from the sport, Royce Gracie looks a hell of a lot healthier than a lot of these NFL players, I say.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into the scientific approach, but yeah, there's a lot of, one thing too about football is it starts at a way younger age as well. I mean, I played football in high school, so there's a good chance I got a little bit of CTE in me.
Did you play football in high school?
Oh yeah, baby.
I didn't know that. You're not a big guy.
What are you talking about? I'm 6'3".
Fucking 6'3". Fuck out my face. You're 6'3".
Well, guess what? You want to know the best part? You get to see Saturday, baby.
I guess we're going to find out.
We get to find out.
I'm 6'5". So if John's taller than me, he's 7'2".
You're 6'5"?
No, I'm not 6'5". I'm 5'9".
I was going to say.
I'm 5'9". Get the fuck out of here.
You're in for a treat, brother.
How tall is the IT girl?
5'2", 5'3".
Is she really?
Mm-hmm.
Seen pictures of you two. I thought you guys were actually kind of closer in height, which is why I assumed you were not 6'3".
Well, you can clearly tell we've only met a couple times here. One time.
Bro, I thought you were shorter than me.
Oh, look how fucking crazy this is. Think about that. Zach doesn't even know who I am, essentially.
I really don't. I don't know a thing about you.
And this is why, for the people that are still in here right now, UFC 277 in Dallas in 2 weeks.
Come to Atlantic City.
Worlds are going to collide.
Yeah, worlds are colliding. This is exciting. This is good stuff.
You thought I was 5'9"?
Yeah, or shorter. To be honest with you, I thought you were shorter than me.
You've got to be fucking kidding me.
Fuck, that's crazy.
I'm a big boy, Zach.
Here we are. Lesson learned. 6'3". John Boy is 6'3".
Yep.
Write it down. Mark your calendars. UFC 277. Nathan Diaz has a fight.
Oof. This was announced 30 minutes to us prior to us going on. So this is big.
Fresh.
I don't know how much we want to overcommit to this because there's a strong possibility that it doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah, and in fairness, it shouldn't. It should not come to fruition. So for those of you who haven't seen the news yet, for those of you who don't follow MMA quite as religiously as John and I do, you have an actual life, I assume. Nathan Diaz, 20-13, a polarizing at times figure in mixed martial arts, an underground favorite of those of us who are Stockton loyalists. Ward Diaz has been scheduled to fight Khamzat Chimaev, one of the most dangerous apex predators in the world right now, coming fresh off of Fight of the Year candidate against Gilbert Burns. On paper, this fight should not, in any world, ever happen.
I disagree.
I just don't think it should. We talked about this a little bit off air. This benefits only Nate Diaz. And I'll lay it out for those of you listening at home, and you sound off in the comments on YouTube or Spotify, or just send us mail, I guess. This benefits only Nate Diaz, which as a Nate Diaz fan, I'm fine with, because if he loses, he'll do something. And I'll quote one of my favorite MMA personalities on Twitter, Ben Folks, longtime MMA journalist, said, Nate Diaz is going to do something cool, like give Khamzat Chimaev the finger, or He'll take a trick from his brother Nick's book and he'll lay down in the middle of the cage, a la Anderson Silva. He'll do something cool. So those of us who are Nate Diaz fans will remain Nate Diaz fans after this fight is over. For Khamzat Chimaev, if you spark Nate Diaz in the first round, you benefit zero, except maybe you get a payday off the fight. Maybe. You're not going up in the rankings. You're not going to get it. Nobody's going to look at you as if you're a different fighter for beating Nate Diaz, who's 20-13. Nate Diaz is well into the twilight of his career. If you spark him in the first round, you were supposed to. If God forbid you lose to Nate Diaz, the blow that your reputation would take would be catastrophic. It would be catastrophic. Nate Diaz is a slick boxer. Nate Diaz is a black belt under Carlson Gracie. Nate Diaz is a real fighter. Him and his brother are real fighters with cardio for miles. These two potheads run triathlons in their spare time for fun. Yeah. They are real deal guys, both of whom are in the twilight of their career. If you're Khamzat Chimaev and you've got a fight of the year candidate, and then you get, God forbid, knocked out or choked out by Nate Diaz, catastrophic blow to your career.
Couldn't disagree more.
I don't know how. I couldn't
disagree with a point more than this one.
I don't know how.
McGregor got choked out by Nate and his career blew up.
McGregor's career had already blown up. And since getting choked out by Nate, his career has not looked that good.
I mean, it hasn't. He fought Floyd after that. He got the rematch
and lost.
But he won the rematch and he got $1 billion.
As an MMA fan, if you get $1 billion, but it's not off of fights that you've had,
okay,
right? If it's off a proper 12 whiskey and talking shit on Twitter, it doesn't move the needle for me. I didn't tune into this shit to see the best personalities ever. And Khamzat Chimaev is not Conor McGregor.
Not yet.
Not ever. Not ever. He is never going to put the Conor McGregor was a once in a lifetime personality in this sport.
Khamzat knocks out Usman inside a minute.
And then what?
You don't think he's anywhere in the realm of McGregor era?
No. He doesn't have the personality for it, I don't think. I don't think he has the personality for it.
No,
I mean, there's no way. There's no way.
I disagree. I mean, if you look at it from an MMA standpoint, Nate Diaz's last fight was against Leon Edwards, right? Leon Edwards is fighting for the belt in his next fight. So MMA math, it's really not that off. I mean, he's going to fight Khamzat. Would Khamzat fighting Nate, honestly?
Look at what happened to Leon Edwards. He almost lost.
He did, but he's fighting for the title now. These are big ifs.
Are you saying that Leon Edwards is only fighting for the title because he fought Nate Diaz?
Yes, that's the only reason he's fighting for the title. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Erroneous.
How? Why even fight?
Erroneous on all counts.
Why fight Diaz before the belt then?
Leon Edwards needed to fight somebody. Khamzat does not.
But why did Leon Edwards need to fight somebody?
I will pull up fucking Leon Edwards.
And of all people, why Nate Diaz at 170? I just think it's the UFC knows what they're doing. They want a little rub rate from the 6 million followers of Nate Diaz who don't know who Khamzat Chimaev is because he's not mainstream yet. Khamzat is going to smoke him if the fight happens. I'm not convinced this fight happens.
Khamzat mathematically should absolutely spark him. I will be War Diaz as we get closer to it. I will probably talk myself into a universe where Diaz can win the fight. We just got to prepare ourselves for that now.
But here we go, though. Here's another interesting thing with the Diaz's making their own rules. I don't know if you saw, this is a scheduled 5-round bout.
That I love.
I didn't know that Diaz had a belt. He doesn't have a belt. How is he getting he gets to just pick when he fights 5-round fights, right?
It's the main event.
And guess who they're talking about as being the co-main?
Who?
Dillashaw and Sterling. It's going to be the first time ever a belt is the co-main event of a fight.
I love it.
So that
Diaz, I ain't surprised, motherfucker.
But that tells you all you need to know. And that honestly, you should be arguing with me, because all this does is this argues for your star power of Nate Diaz, and just stepping in the ring and just having any media whatsoever, any attachment being mentioned in the same name as Diaz is a win. And obviously, unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to money. It always does. And this is the most profitable way to go about Khamzat's career.
Either I'm wrong or Dana White's a fucking idiot.
Okay, I can live with that.
I mean, but I don't think that Dana White is a fucking idiot, right?
Yeah, neither do I. That's why
I don't think I'm wrong.
But
I don't think I'm wrong.
But I disagree.
You can and there is room for healthy disagreement on this podcast.
Of course,
there's always room for healthy disagreement.
We want that. We don't want to agree on everything.
We don't. I don't like when we agree. It's uncomfortable for me. It makes me feel awkward. When we agree, it makes me feel awkward.
I want to say agreed, but I'm not.
Don't say it.
No.
Whatever you do, don't say it.
No.
But
apparently I'm fucking 5'6" too.
5'6", 5'7" on a good day.
How much do you think I weigh?
Fuck, I don't know. What do you weigh?
Like 225?
Are you 225?
225, 230. I've been leaning up a little bit. I was like 235. Now I'm like 220, 225.
Really? You hit 235?
Oh yeah.
Wow. This is my mind is fucking blown.
July 30th, baby.
My mind is blown. All right. Well, everybody, when you see a picture of John and us, just if I appear to be 6'3", I'm standing on something, whatever. Fuck.
That's funny.
That's crazy. Damn.
This is really coming full circle. It's pretty incredible where we've come for what we've established to start this thing.
What we've done. We've done something beautiful.
Really have.
With so little. This is a true rags to bitches story here. And I couldn't be happier about it. Anything else in the MMA world we got to talk about this week?
Charles Oliveira, Islam Makhachev was announced. I know we covered a lot. I know this is a long episode.
It's got to get talked about.
But that's a big one.
Chucky Olives, Islam Makhachev is happening in the United Arab Emirates.
In Abu Dhabi.
Happening sort of on Makhachev's turf. And originally, Habib Nurmagomedov, who coaches Islam Makhachev, had said they wanted that fight in Brazil.
That's what Habib said, yeah.
Chucky Olives is coming to dangerous ground.
All I can say is I don't think I'm ever going to root harder for a fighter that I don't have money on than Charles Oliveira that night.
Same.
Is he being disrespected?
Yeah.
More than any. He's a plus 225 underdog.
That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I mean, he's being the resume in his last 3 fights that he put up. I don't think there's been a fighter that's been more disrespected than Charlie Olives.
Agreed. The man, this is a resurgence for him, right? He was a middle of the road guy for most of his career. He put together some good wins. He takes some tough losses, but he kind of dialed in the formula, and he has been a man possessed in his last few fights. And I'll say only this, and I don't know if I've mentioned it on the pod before. I had a chance to meet Chucky Olives, Charles Oliveira. He's as nice as you would expect him to be, but what really kind of cemented him in my heart. Mm-hmm. And I don't let a lot of fighters in there.
Oh God.
He's in my heart. There was what's that?
He roofied you?
I wish.
Okay.
I wish. I tipped him, but he didn't roofie me.
Okay.
No, there was a gentleman at UFC Fight Week who was wheelchair bound. It appeared that I think he was a quadriplegic, just based on the level of technology that was operating on this man's chair.
You saw some good shit. You saw some good people.
Yeah. So Charles Oliveira, when they asked him to sort of position himself on the stage so that he could take a selfie with a fight fan who had no ability to get on the stage, Oliveira took the phone, walked off the stage, and leaned over the dude so they could get a legit side-by-side selfie together. One of the more beautiful things I've ever seen a professional athlete do for a fan.
Doesn't
So,
surprise me one bit, though.
no, that man lives right here forever.
Doesn't surprise me one bit, though.
Him, and I saw Glover Teixeira do the same thing, go out of their way for this fan who was visibly excited to be there, but obviously with his own physical limitations, it made it difficult for him to be as involved as he wanted to be. These guys came down off the stage to take that selfie with this dude and probably made his whole fucking trip out there. Yeah. So they live in here now.
I mean,
those boys in.
Yeah, I mean, emotionally attached apart. I just want to, this has to be said. Last 4 fights.
Yeah.
Justin Gaethje, first round submission. Dustin Poirier, 3rd round submission.
Yep.
Michael Chandler, 2nd round knockout.
Yep.
Tony Ferguson, clearest UD I've ever seen.
Yep. Yeah.
That is the nastiest 4 wins on a resume that I think I've probably ever seen in terms of back to back to back to back.
In what might be the toughest division in MMA right now.
And here are Islam Makhachev's wins. Bobby Green.
Yep.
Dan Hooker. Looked horrible. Thiago Moises. Drew Dober. It's not even close. The resume is like, if you looked at the 2 resumes and put them side by side and asked me who the favorite was, not in a million years would I tell you the guy with this resume would be the favorite.
Charles Oliveira's last 4 fights, that's a Hall of Fame right there.
And if he beats Islam and calls out Khabib,
be still. Be still by heart. Well, so this is a thought I had while in the shower earlier this week. I think we had it wrong all along. Everybody always wanted Tony Khabib. I think there was a hero waiting in the wings.
Wow.
I think the what if question, the true what if, is not what if Tony and Khabib. It's what if Tony and Chucky Olives right there. I think that's the what if.
Or Habib and Chucky.
That's what, Habib and Chucky. That's what I
got you.
That's the real what if.
That's one of those like silver lining things you take away. You know, that's a very half glass full attitude, and I love that. Yeah, that might be it. He beats Islam Makhachev. Does Khabib come out of retirement?
Objectively, I say no. But subjectively, I'll tell you this. Charles Oliveira thinks so.
The odds go up. I'll say that much.
Yeah, the odds certainly go up. That's I mean, listen, I don't want to fucking ball before we crawl, but yeah.
That's huge implications.
Yeah, I will be wearing a Charles Oliveira t-shirt, maybe a hat. I'm going to frame the signed photo I have of him. Picture of he and I together will be all over social media. Yeah, big pull for Charlie Olives. Big pull. Anything else, John Boy?
I think that wraps it up.
Well, then, as always, once again, humbly from your narrators, call your mother. Tell you love her. We out.
Peace.